in search of meaning.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast In Search of Meaning. My name is Ethan.
And I'm Julia.
And today we are going to talk about a subject that is really, really fascinating for me. What's today's subject?
As far as I remember, it's something like what makes you to be you.
Yes, it's what makes you to be you.
You just repeat it.
It's to make a point. And, well, I think it's a very complicated subject because is there really a way to be yourself? Like, is there a way to be your true self?
That was not the question. The question was what makes you be you, and to me it appears to be not that complicated. I mean, if we're gonna try and to track reasons and things that affected you being yourself, maybe that's going to be hard. But we know the explanations, at least, like it is coded by your DNA, and then all the things that happen to you throughout your life, starting from your birth and ending with your death, makes you be you. They affect you in a different way. They bring different amount of affection for you. Like some things affect you a lot, some things you don't even remember. Also education, how your parents brought you, and well, whatever happened around you. Plus DNA makes you be you. That's my point.
Well, there's technically two main parts of the question, who are you? And the first part is one which the psychologists have revealed that it is divided in four. The first part is your genetic makeup. And your genetic makeup consists of, for example, first, your gender. And your gender comes with certain amount of testosterone or estrogen, and that affects who you are. And also, depending on the genes you have, well, it's the way you live.
Well, yeah, that's what I said.
The second one, which I think you already said, is your environment.
Yes.
If you live in a very aggressive family, you will somehow become aggressive, or on the other hand, become very sensible to aggressive people.
Yeah, or very sensible and soft and not able to protect yourself in general.
Another one is shared family personality. And this is very interesting because of not so long ago, it was discovered that personality genes do transfer between family members. So if you have parents who are aggressive or who are very calm or even intelligent in that matter, you can get those genes, and their children can be very, very similar to those genes. So one example is that twins share their almost the same DNA, and their personality traits are almost identical. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, one can be more open than the other twin, but most of it, they're like very, very similar personalities.
Well, that is still what I have said, saying that your personality is coded with DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the fourth?
The fourth is life experiences.
Isn't it like somehow the same as environment?
No, because life experiences are maybe a consequence of environment.
Or environment is a consequence of life experiences.
It could be also cyclical in some sense. Maybe one could eat the other one.
One inside of the other.
Yeah, like a beautiful Ouroboros. And now, I want to talk about the big personality traits, which I refer to the big five. which have been studied for all around the 20th century and have been replicated in all the countries around the world. And these studies reflect very interesting results around the world, around like nationalities, around gender, etc.
So what are they?
There are 5, which is extroversion, agreeableness, emotion stability, conscientiousness, and openness, and or intellect. And you can just do all these tests online, and if you really want a very specific test, you can just pay for one professional test, or you can just get a cheap one, which will give you a pretty accurate reading of your personality. And well, I'm very obsessed, I guess, with who I am. I do personality tests very often to see if I change a lot, to see if I am this type of person maybe 1 year ago, if it changes in the next 6 months. And I find it fascinating because it does change, but it never changed in a very dramatic manner. One of my favorite tests is the
16 personalities.
Yes, 16 personalities.
Well,
I am
yeah.
Logician. Like, I'm an architect, and in that sense, I'm an introvert. But I also kind of like rely on logic and other stuff. What were you going to say?
I was going to say something for like 5 times.
Sorry.
Well, first, I wanted to ask you to tell maybe a little bit more about these big 5 personality traits. First, can you briefly explain what does each of them mean?
Okay. So, these personality tests are basically based on the theory of archetypes of Carl Jung.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, if nobody knew, the idea of somebody who is extroverted or somebody who is introverted comes from Carl Jung. Because in his sense, someone who is extroverted is someone who is always very focused on the outer world or his outer world.
Yeah, like me. I am very focused on the outer world, always.
And on the other hand, it's introverted, which is somebody who is very focused on their inner world, on their thoughts, on what they're feeling, etc. And I would consider myself an introvert because I'm always thinking a lot, and I never talk about everything that I am thinking, but in just 10 minutes I can think a lot of ideas. And so when you do this big 5 personality traits, if you get a high score, it means you are very extroverted, which you are active, which you need regular social interaction, and you are primarily dominant. And on the other hand, if you get a low score, you are less active, you need more alone time, and you're submissive. So right off the bat, when you start to see these results of your test, maybe you are not very happy with it, but I guess it's just part of like trying to be yourself and knowing who you are, because some people who are introverts, when they know that, well, they're submissive, it may seem like very like attacking. Like, I don't want to be submissive, but sometimes you have to accept that the way you are, you have to accept the way you are instead of trying to just pretend to be someone else. Because that happens a lot when you are a certain way, and then you just find good personality traits in other people or in maybe characters in a series or a movie, and you try to copy them, but you find out that they don't fit in you as well, and you get frustrated because you cannot be what you want to be. What do you think about that? Because, for example, whenever I saw an important movie about adventure, about finding something important, I always related myself with the characters. So, for example, Indiana Jones. I always found Indiana Jones to be a character to look up to, because he was brave and he was smart and everything. And so when I finished seeing one of his movies, of course, I, as a little child, was like, I want to be like him. I want to be confident. And I want to discover the world and everything.
Well, what I suppose is your question is if you can pretend to be somebody else and become or not. Is it more about that? Like, for example, if you find some role model and you want to behave and act just like that person or character, and the question is if you can do it or not.
Well, my point is that you can't do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I agree here.
Yeah, but I just wanted to talk about how it's something that maybe a lot of people go through.
Don't know. I guess I never had that in my experience as something big. Like, I found somebody like you found Indiana Jones, and I wanted to be like that person throughout like 4 years. I constantly find people which I admire in one or other sense. They could be professors at school, they could be my language tutors, they could be artists and photographers sharing their experience. And if there is something that I can gain as a person, I would gain it. I would try to copy a little bit, but that's something of a very fast process. Like, it happens during 1, 2, 3 weeks, maybe sometimes several months, if I really, really admire somebody. But I interpret it in my own way and somehow make it to fit my personality, because not often, and I would say that pretty rare, a person who I admire is of my type of personality. Like, for example, I don't know about 16 personalities test, I don't remember who I am there, but according to a very similar or almost the same test of socionics, or blah blah blah.
They're basically
they're basically similar. I'm that type of intuitive, ethical extrovert or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that in 16 personality you were like the green one, which is like
something from green,
like happy, extroverted, empathetic person.
Yes, that one. And mostly people that I admire, they are very different, and that I think what makes this common stereotype of opposites being magneted to each other. And also in this system of socionics, it's like it describes different types of relationship between people. And there, the best relationship you can ever get is the one with the person completely opposite to you in all the characteristics. And
but wouldn't that make it like clash instead of flow?
No. Well, it will also depend on some other types which cannot be described, like interests and goals and stuff. But in this thing, like, for example, I'm extrovert, that's why I need an introvert to be my partner. If I'm logical, then I need to be a logical person to be my partner, and etc. And that's what I noticed choosing my role models. Those people were very different from how I am. For example, I always wanted to have more time to spend alone, like introverts do, but I never could, because, well, when I had free time, like Saturday, no classes, the whole Sunday is coming, and you can choose between staying at home and reading a book, or going out with friends to a bar, well, guess what I would choose? What I would always choose. And next time I had the same situation, I wouldn't think like, okay, last time I went to a bar, that means that time I will stay at home. No, I would think like, no. I wanna go with friends because I'm a person who gains energy from entertaining myself with other people.
Yeah, contrast to me. I would just stay home. I was like, I don't need to socialize. I would just stay home. But this leads me to our second element of personality, which is agreeableness.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that basically people who are opposite to each other go well together. Now I find it interesting because I don't agree. But I respect your opinion, and especially in agreeableness. Because, well, what is agreeableness is the ability to be submissive or dominant in actions or comments, etc. So, let's say that you have a friend and you're going to the movies. And either you have the possibility to watch a horror movie or you want the possibility to watch a romantic movie. Somebody who is more agreeable don't care. Maybe that person doesn't like horror movies, but maybe the person is less agreeable. So the other person will be like, okay, let's watch horror movies. But agreeable people can't say no. They're like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But imagine two not agreeable people trying to go to a movie.
Of course, they will be arguing like, no.
No, they will never go. Or, on the other hand, two agreeable people.
Which will never do anything.
Which will never do anything. One will be like, well, I don't mind going to either horror or romantic movies. And the other one will be like, well, I don't mind going to both either. And they will never choose.
Ooh, but
there always needs to be somebody like dominating in some sense.
But if like they're both in the extremes, there's a complete disbalance because all the control has the non-agreeable part.
Yeah, but the other person is so agreeable that it doesn't even care that all the choices are on the other person, because maybe this person doesn't have enough of will of power, and this person can never choose. Well, yeah.
I understand, but like that person, even though it wants to see some type of movie, it can't say no, and so time will pass, and that person will just become frustrated.
Okay, let's move to another one.
I want to comment on this because, for example, one big theme. One thing that is big on the news right now is the idea that women unfairly earn less than men. And it's interesting because one of the reasons that this is true is because of this personality trait. Because men in general are non-agreeable and women are more agreeable. And so when you have a workplace and you have like a meeting with your boss and people go there and you say, hey, okay, what's wrong? A man would say like, okay, I want to raise. And the boss would say, okay, how about 5% raise? A man could say like, no, 15. We're like, okay, we can do 15. Done. And then a woman comes in and the woman says, I want to raise. And then the boss would say like, okay, 5%. And the woman would say like, well, not bad. Okay, 5%. Even though they do the same job. But the ability to negotiate from the man was more successful because of the non-agreeable. And of course, it could be a pain in the ass to be non-agreeable in other social situations. But there's more to it.
Well, let me be a feminist right now and
Sure.
Contradict with you in some sense. Does it depend just on personality? Well, I mean, yeah, it does depend on personality, but are those personalities on being agreeable or not agreeable come from our genetics and from our gender, or does it maybe come from environment, because if parents raise a very strong girl telling her that if you ever find something that you don't agree with, you should go and say, hey, I don't agree with this, you should change something. And on the other hand, maybe there is a man that parents never care about him agreeing or not agreeing to anything, and this man just always agrees to whatever they suggest him. But the thing is that in our society, people more tend to bring up men that are non-agreeable and women that are more agreeable. Like, dear, yeah, maybe he's saying to you that you need to do makeup every day. Well, you'd better agree because, well, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. This situation seems to me very, very real. Like,
well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but like in all the tests and all the research that has done with personalities around the world, in all the entire world, in all the entire cultures like Africa, Russia, Mexico, Argentina, women in general are more agreeable. Of course, that doesn't mean that there aren't women that are not agreeable, because they are. But the difference is quite strong. And one big part of it could be the environment, like values, family values, and other part could be just genes. Because even the most sophisticated countries in social terms, like northern countries, have this difference. And, well, it's just depends on the genes and personality. And, of course, if you are a very agreeable person, you need to learn how to stop being that. And it's something that you can change. And it's not something that is locked there forever. Of course, it's hard, but you have to be able to understand your weaknesses to overcome them.
Maybe. So yeah, what's next? What's the next one?
The next one is called emotional stability, or in some tests it's called neuroticism, which is like to be neurotic, or maybe anxious in that sense.
And what are the extremes?
Of course, if you score high, you are emotionally stable, you are normal tempered, you are resilient. And on the other hand, if your score is very low, you are very frightened, you are short tempered, and you are fragile. And this reminds me of a very interesting research they did on chimpanzees, because during modern times, we've seen that there's a lot of anxiety going around. And people suffer from anxiety more and more and more. And it seems like a burden because, well, it is. But they grabbed 2 groups of monkeys, and from one group of monkeys, they took the anxious monkeys away. And, well, see what happened. And so, well, they threw them into the jungle and everything. And the group that didn't have the anxious monkeys died. Because the anxious monkeys, that sounds like a cool rock band, the anxious monkeys, were the ones who were trying to tell about danger. Because, of course, when you're neurotic, you find everything dangerous. And you're trying to warn everybody about it. He's like, okay, let's cross this log. But somebody who is very neurotic would say like, no, it will break. No, let's start with a rock. No, what if we do it something more safe? And of course everybody will be like, oh my god, shut up. But if you don't have that neurotic person, then every idea that you have becomes a good idea. Like, hey man, what if we just get drunk and then just jump over this cliff? Okay, let's do it. If you had a neurotic person, it was like, no, be careful, you're going to get hurt, you're going to break your leg. That's very tall. And, well, you can see how this neuroticism affects society, and also women in general are more anxious than men, and that is basically because of it is rumored that it's because of child labor, of getting pregnant and having to care themselves more, makes them be more aware of their surroundings, because they have a life inside of their own body, so they have to be more cautious.
Well, yeah. And in physical sense, women are by default less strong than men are. So you gotta be more aware of your environment in so to prevent an extreme situation, because you know that in an extreme situation you won't be able to do anything, and men on the other hand, they will better not prevent anything. They will just go and see what happens, because if an extreme situation occurs, they can protect themselves, just in general. Of course there are strong women and not strong men, but yeah, we're talking like in general.
Okay, so let's move forward to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is conscientiousness. And if you have a high score in this, it means you are organized, hardworking, and sticks to a plan. And on the other hand, if you score low, you are unproductive, procrastinating, and impulsive, which is different from being intelligent, because you can be hardworking and not have a high IQ at all, and you can be unproductive but have a very high IQ.
That's what actually happens very often. Hardworking and disciplined people achieve more than people with high IQ, because people with high IQ are more probably procrastinating, lazy, and non-organized. Or at least that's what I faced in my own experience. And people who have both self-organization and high IQ are those on the top.
Yeah, that's true.
Like on the real top, not got to be there somehow sneaky and stuff.
Something that I've read that happens very often with people who have high intellect is that they think that they deserve the world. And because they understand the world better and they see things that nobody sees, they think that just because they understand it better, they are entitled to a better life. And so it makes them become more unproductive and lazy and everything. And then when they see somebody who's successful, they get mad because they see that they are obviously not as intelligent as them, and they don't understand why they're at the top. Well, it's because of conscientiousness.
Well, the thing with me, I guess, is that I wouldn't say that I have like super high IQ or something like that, but I can say that I has always been showing results better than the group I was. Like, not the best, but in general I was higher than middle. Let's put it this way. And what it always made me to be is to be lazy, not because I was thinking that I deserve the whole world. No, I've never had that. I've never had a very good self-confidence and self-estimation and whatever, just because I was able to do things faster than everybody else. Like when we were in the class and we have a new rule to learn, I would be the fastest to get it. When we had a question to answer, I would be the fastest to have any answer. Was it correct or not? That's different. But whatever. I was able to do things like faster than everybody else because of my, I guess, mind speed. And maybe because I was not afraid of anything when I was 18 and when I was a kid. And so that made me, well, when you always know that you can do things fast and you will not do them bad, like you don't need a lot of time to do things good, it just somehow disorganizes you. And you're like, yeah, why would I start writing my thesis half a year before if I know that I can start it 1 month before and do it in a decent way? Maybe not the best, but in a decent way, so it will work. I will not get kicked out from university or whatever. So why would I even put any effort? And that's very tricky. It doesn't mean that you get fully calm those 5 months before you have your months to write the thesis, and you're like, okay, that's the time. Or it doesn't mean that you're able in 1 month to achieve the best results. It just makes you feel that you will be on the same level with the others, doing less than the others, and you're okay with this. And I think you need to have like really good motivation to make yourself do more things and spend more time, and then you will be able to achieve more, like to achieve the top, to reach to the top. Yeah.
Very good. Well put. Let's go to the next point because, well, it's very connected. Openness or intellect. If you score high in openness and intellect, it means that you are curious, that you remember dreams, that you are open to new things, and you are prone to abstract thought. And if you score very low, you mean you are close-minded, narrow, you don't remember your dreams, you avoid or dislike new things, and you're living in the now, like in the present. So what do you think about this?
Who do you think you are? My first question.
Regarding as openness?
Yeah.
I think I am quite open. Like, I think I have a very big openness, but I am very non-agreeable. Mm-hmm. So, for something, if somebody has an idea, I would listen to it. But if I don't know if that idea will convince me, I'll be like, okay, tell me, what do you think? I will listen. I will analyze it. But I've thought about, well, I'm neurotic, so I thought about everything too much, maybe way too much than I should. So
and then others did.
Yeah. And I will listen, but I'm non-agreeable, so it's very hard for me to agree with what you're saying unless you have very convincing evidence that is how it is, or that's what the evidence suggests. And what about you?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm a very agreeable person, but I guess I'm more agreeable than you because I tend more to accept somebody else's point of view until this view comes to bother me. So if your opinion doesn't bother me at all, and it's your opinion, just keep your opinion with yourself, and I'm fine with that. Whatever your opinion is, if it doesn't violate anybody's rights. And about openness in intellect, I would say that I'm super curious. I'm more curious than I should be. Mm-hmm. But this curiosity doesn't go further than just curiosity, unfortunately. I remember my dreams almost every night. I'm open to new things. I was more open before, but I think it's just age.
yeah, it's proven that age makes you less open.
Yeah. I was listening to that photographer, one of like the best Russian street something photographers, and the interviewer asked him like, "Hey, what is your dream? Do you have a dream?" And he was like, "Well, I would say that my dream is to stay the same openness level as I am now, because there is that Russian photographer who lives in Paris, and he's the only member of Magnum from Russia, like who is Russian, and he's super cool, and he's like 80 something, and he has his Instagram where he makes photographs with his phone." And that was super adorable to him, because he was like, "Yeah, you know, that's so cool that when you are 80, you learn how to use the phone, how to make photos with phone, and you move from the ways that you used to know to the new ways." And that's cool. And he said that that was his dream. And I can relate to that, like, really, because I'm really afraid, well, I can feel that it's happening right now, because, for example, I can't listen to this new rap music popular in Russia right now, for example. It just doesn't speak to me in that sense. This TikTok or something just didn't speak to me as well. I mean, I try, but I just felt so cringy seeing all those videos. Almost, I don't know, maybe 60% of them, that this cringiness just won, and I had not to install it on my new phone.
Some Russian rap songs are quite good.
Yeah, like 3 songs out of everything that I've ever heard. Not that I've heard too much, but, you know.
Oh, I like it.
I'm just right now about how I feel that. And prone to abstract thoughts, I would say yes, but at the same moment, I like to 90%. Other 20%, I live in the now. What about you?
It's very interesting because of it's also have been proven that to be a very artistic person, you have to have a certain personality trait.
What are they?
You have to be very open, because artistic people are very open. You have to be not emotionally stable, and I think most of them are not conscientious.
Which was?
It like organized.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and well, the idea that they get obsessed with ideas, well, it means that they are very open.
Curious.
Yeah, and they're very curious, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. I mean, is obsession equal to openness? I mean, I feel that those are two different things, because I'm very curious and has always been very curious, but my curiosity never went too far, as I said. It's like, oh wow, I'm so curious about how programming works. Let's try programming. Then I'm trying programming, and then it never goes very much far.
Well, that's what I mean. What if that openness that you feel is 80? And what if somebody who is really attracted to a lot of things and just learns it has an openness of 95?
Not a very big difference for somebody who doesn't do anything, for somebody who does a lot.
80 and 95?
80.
80 and 95.
Yes, 50%.
15%? I think it's a lot of difference when you got personality.
Oh,
because, like, for example, in general, well, there's an average in every society about the average of openness, the average of agreeableness, etc. If you are in the average of conscientiousness, of curiosity and everything, well, if you're a little bit higher than the average, well, you feel different. And of course, you are more creative and you are interested in stuff. But if you are in the extreme, now to be in the extreme is something else. Because the difference starts to be even more prominent the more you get away from the average. And that you can see it also with every type of the personalities that we just talked about. Everybody, almost, I think 95% of all the people are in between an average. And then the other 5 are in the extremes. And so that's when you find like this, either extraordinary people or horrible people who are non-agreeable, who are neurotic, who are unconscientious, who are close-minded, who are aggressive. And, well, that's where things start to peak, either intellectual gods or psychopaths.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Super interesting, this personality traits. And I had a question. You want to say something?
Sure, that is very interesting. But I feel that those things that you told from the Big Five, well, I find these 16 personalities, like traits from there, are more ground-based, let's say. I don't remember what are they, and I don't remember them in English. But those that you listed right now, like, for example, being agreeable or being conscientious.
Yes.
Being conscientious.
Yes.
Yeah, they are pretty changeable. And this test that you take, like, from 16 personalities, contains the traits which are not changeable, like this first one from the Big Five, extroversion and introversion. It's not changeable. It doesn't change throughout your life.
Why not?
And extroversion and introversion?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it's something that is like programmed to you, like coded with your DNA or whatever, and it's just that you're either extrovert or introvert, and it can slightly change that at some periods of life you feel that you need to be alone more, and some periods of life you feel that you need to be with other people more, but it's, as I heard it from my psychologist, she said that introverts gain energy while being alone and waste energy while being with other people.
Oh, yes.
And extroverts gain energy from talking to other people and lose energy while being alone. So I don't think that's a thing that can change a lot throughout your life.
Well, I think you can work with it. Like, of course, your main personality will be either you're introvert or extrovert. For example, I have always been an introvert. But if I never worked with myself, and if I never tried to overcome my introvertness and to speak to people in public, etc., I wouldn't be doing this podcast, because I have to take everything inside of me and somehow put it outside. And it's not easy, but it takes some practice. And I would never consider myself to be fully extroverted. But I do think that my extroversion levels rose up a little bit because I managed to train myself to do it. And, well, that's what a lot of people do, like in self-confidence training and coaches and even psychologists, that they're trying to make you aware of your personality and try to make it change it for the better.
So yeah, talking about 16 personalities test, they have 4 different criteria, which are introverted and extroverted, and it's how you expend energy, sensing and intuition, how you receive information, thinking and feeling, how you make decisions, and judging versus perceiving, how you see the world. So those seem to me just like ground extremes for what we just have discussed with the Big Five. Because I think those things, like how you make decisions and how you receive information and how you see the world, can explain somehow, like either you're open or not, either you're organized or not, and etc., etc. So, yeah. And it's just my way of receiving and taking situations and ideas. Like I always want to get to the reason, like why is it like that? And I thought that our idea of the podcast today, like, is why you are how you are. Maybe I got it wrong. I thought it's why, not what. Damn.
No, well, what makes you is your personality and your what you like, what you hate. And that brings me to one question that we had, which is the things that we like defines us because we give them individual interpretation based on our personality?
Mm-hmm.
Or it doesn't influence it at all?
So can you put the question in a maybe different way so I can understand it better?
Yeah, sure. I think what it means is that, for example, if you're a fanatic of Harry Potter, does that in some sense have to do with your own personality? The way you like Harry Potter more than Lord of the Rings, for example.
I guess so. Yeah.
I agree too. I think, maybe before I was very obsessed with the idea that whatever you liked was a big part of what you were. So if you liked like a specific type of music, that meant that you were this guy with personality very specific.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, every time I met somebody who liked the Flaming Lips, I automatically thought, like, this guy is cool. This guy is open. This guy is interesting because he's into that kind of music that reflects this open, weird music type. And so I think the question goes in that sense. Have you ever had, like, something like that?
Well, what I heard is, show me who your friend is and I will tell you who you are. So I think that's an extrovert point of view on this on this matter. It's just that people who are obsessed with something can get on well because they are very interested in something, but it doesn't mean that they will connect on somebody else, on something else. Mm-hmm. And yeah, interests are decisive. And for example, if your interests like completely different, you will not get on well, even though you are going well according to all the psychological tests, like that you're supposed to go well. And it cannot work. But if your interests are same and you love like everything same, you like both orange juice, I don't know, Lord of the Rings, and traveling to Zurich, and you're like both obsessed with all of these three things, but in other senses you don't you're not supposed to like go on well together. I will also think that it's not like that is not possible. Like even if you are super big fans of same things, it doesn't mean that you are same people at all, or that you are people who will get on well.
That you will become very good friends.
Maybe you can become very good friends, but like different type of friendship.
Okay.
You can be like friends who meet like once a month and they have a bunch to discuss, but they wouldn't like to meet the rest of the month. Or there are friends who cannot live without each other every day. So yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay. Let's move to another question, which is referred to the title promoted for this episode, which is what makes you you.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, if there is really a true you, how can you be truly yourself? Is there this essence of your true self?
Yeah, that's very complicated. What do you think?
I believe that your true self is the best version of yourself that you can be.
What if you cannot be any good at all? What if you're...
Well, it doesn't mean that you're bad. Like, the best version of yourself is even the worst person in the world doing a good thing, and that's the only thing that good that has ever done. Well, that is his best version of himself. Like, there's always a better version of you, and for me, that is your true self. Your true self is the best you can be, and also the one who doesn't break ethic laws in that sense. Like, if you have a very strict idea that eating sugar is wrong, and you go to a party and you see those beautiful, delicious cakes, well, in order to be truly yourself, you have to keep synchronized those different aspects of yourself, which is like the idea of sugar is wrong and don't eat that cake. And that's when you honor yourself, and that's when you become your true self, a better self.
I would slightly disagree here. If I perceive it correctly, if your true self is your best self, doesn't it mean that your true self is always in the future? Because your very self is always waiting somewhere over there until you are able to, like, not evolve, but to gain any progress.
It's in the future, but it's also in the present. Because if you're always thinking about the future, then you cannot attain it in the present.
Yeah, but if we're assuming that you can always become a better version of yourself, doesn't it mean that your true self is still waiting for you somewhere there,
so
nowhere?
You mean that maybe your true self is the best you will be in your entire life before you die?
Well, that's what appears to me that you saying.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe your true self is the better version of yourself you are before you die.
Well, I think that
maybe that's your potential. That potential.
Yeah, that what you said, you're like a better version of yourself, sounds more like potential, but not like true self. I think true self is something that is always there with you. Like, for example, with me, there's always this peaceful thing, I would say. Like, I'm always for peace. I'm not saying that I'm a pacifist, but I've always been like for making peaceful things, and when I don't act according to my true self is moments when I feel bad. And for example, and it doesn't mean that you should be like the best version of yourself. It's like when you're doing something and you're feeling that it's right, then it's true you. Then you're acting true you. When you don't feel that it's coming from the outside, that somebody influenced you doing that, or you're doing something because somebody told you to do so, or you're doing something and you're not feeling satisfied with it at all, that means that you're doing something wrong, not acting your true self out. But if you're doing things and you're feeling them go in the right way, that's your true self.
In Jungian terms, it's between the ego and the shadow, which is the self, which is what you just said exactly.
Oh, I'm Jung. Yeah.
A Jungian. But yeah, I guess I agree. I guess you changed my mind.
Oh, great.
Obviously, I'm not that non-agreeable.
Maybe.
If the idea is good, I'll accept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't. Do you?
No.
Okay. So I will leave it to here for this episode. And I am very interested in everybody's results in their personality tests. So I would encourage you to do it and to send us a message to know what personality test you are. So
Yes, down there in the description on the YouTube you can find a link to 16 personalities test.
great. And I will put my results.
I will put mine maybe.
Okay. I don't know if you're going to do it again.
Maybe.
Okay. So we'll see you next time.
And the topic will be?
We still don't know, but we will inform you days before.
Okay, see you next time. I mean, be heard next time, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.